As you listen to my words, I want you to imagine that I am speaking directly to you, not from the pages of a book, but from the depths of experience, for what I am about to share is not theory. It is truth born from the trials and victories of countless men and women. Have you ever wondered why so many lives are bound by invisible chains, while only a few dare to walk free? The answer lies in the shadows that haunt the human mind. Shadows that I have called the ghosts of fear. These ghosts are subtle, cunning, and persistent. They do not announce their presence with a loud voice. Instead, they creep silently, often unnoticed, until they have chained a man to failure and misery. And here is the question that demands your attention. Are these ghosts haunting you right now? There are three enemies that prepare the soil in which fear grows: indecision, doubt, and fear itself. Like weeds in a fertile field, they begin as tiny seeds, often invisible to the eye. Indecision sprouts first. Left unchecked, it crystallizes into doubt. Then, through the slow blending of both, fear takes root. But let me challenge you. Have you examined your own thoughts recently to see which of these seeds may be growing within your mind? These enemies do not strike with sudden violence. They grow quietly, secretly, almost politely, until they have taken command. That is why so many people remain slaves without even knowing the master they serve. And let me tell you this: if these enemies are alive within your heart, then no philosophy of success, no method, no opportunity, no stroke of fortune will ever serve you. Does that make you pause and reflect on your own condition? For before you can taste the fruits of riches, whether in wealth or in peace of mind, you must first clear your mind of these ghosts. The sixth sense, that mysterious guiding power of the subconscious, will never work while fear remains in control. Fear blinds the eyes, deafens the ears, and paralyzes the will. So I ask you, are you willing to look into the mirror of your own soul and admit the presence of fear? Every person must confront 6 basic fears, and though they wear many disguises, their roots are always the same. They are the fear of poverty, the fear of criticism, the fear of ill health, the fear of loss of love, the fear of old age, and the fear of death. Which of these fears has wrapped its fingers around your spirit? Perhaps you know the grip of poverty, that silent whisper in the night that tells you your bills will remain unpaid, that tomorrow holds no bread. Perhaps you know the fear of criticism, the icy thought that stops you from daring because someone might laugh, someone might condemn. Or maybe you have felt the ache of fearing ill health, that every pain is a sign of decline. Maybe you fear the loss of love, the breaking of bonds that once held you strong. Perhaps old age terrifies you, reminding you of days slipping away, dreams left undone, and above all, the ultimate ghost, the fear of death, the end that none can escape. But let me stop here and ask, if you do not master these fears, then what will they master in you? Do not think for a moment that you are alone in this battle. The strongest leaders, the richest men, the most brilliant thinkers, all of them have walked through this valley of shadows. Some were conquered, some became conquerors. The difference was not luck, not circumstance, not even genius. The difference was the mastery of thought. And here is where I want your full attention, because the secret lies in understanding that fear is nothing more than a state of mind. If fear is only a thought, and thought can be controlled, then is it not true that you can control fear itself? Man has absolute dominion over but one thing: his thoughts. This single truth holds the key to every success and every failure. You may not control the storms of the world, but you may control the storm within. So, let me press you with another question. Are you controlling your thoughts? Or are your thoughts controlling you? History gives us lessons written in blood and sacrifice. After the crash of 1929, the people of America thought constantly of poverty. They imagined it, feared it, spoke of it, and dreamed of it. Slowly but surely, those mass thoughts crystallized into the Great Depression. It had to happen, because thoughts always clothe themselves in reality. Do you see what this means for your own life? Every impulse of thought, whether it rises from your own mind or drifts in from the minds of others, begins to transform into its physical equivalent. Fear, nurtured in thought, must eventually grow into failure. into sickness, into poverty. But courage, nurtured in thought, must eventually grow into power, into wealth, into freedom. Now I ask you again, what are you nurturing in the secret garden of your mind? The choice is yours, though few dare to make it. You may open your mind to the tramp thoughts of fear and defeat released by the masses, or you may close the gates and admit only those impulses that lead to faith and achievement. And here is the great dividing line between those who rise and those who fall: the decision to control one's own mind. So what decision are you making at this very moment? Because understand this, every hesitation, every delay, every whisper of tomorrow is the language of fear. And every act of courage, every declaration of today is the language of freedom. Which voice are you obeying right now? I tell you plainly, indecision is the seed of fear. Doubt is its companion. Together they weave a chain stronger than steel. But chains exist only to be broken by the man who dares to strike. Are you that man? Or will you remain bound by shadows? You may ask me, how then shall I break these chains of fear? The answer begins with awareness. For a man cannot conquer an enemy he refuses to see. So let me ask you, have you named the fears that hide within you? The first step toward freedom is always recognition. The 6 fears are not shadows without form. They are habits of thought. And like any habit, they can be replaced by stronger habits. Poverty is not merely the absence of money, it is the presence of fear in your mind. Criticism is not merely the words of others, it is the echo of your own self-doubt. Do you see how each fear disguises itself and deceives you? Consider the fear of ill health. How many people have imagined themselves sick until their bodies obeyed the command of their minds? Physicians themselves, surrounded daily by disease, are often untouched, not because they possess some supernatural immunity, but because they refuse to fear illness. Their thoughts protect them as surely as medicine. So I ask you, what thoughts are protecting you? And what thoughts are poisoning you? The fear of loss of love is another cruel ghost. How many relationships have been destroyed not by the loss itself, but by the suspicion, the jealousy, the endless worry that love would be lost? Fear becomes the very force that pushes away what you most desire to keep. Is fear secretly pushing away the very things you long for? Old age, too, wears a mask. It whispers that the best days are behind you, that your strength is fading, that you are closer to the grave than to the cradle. Yet I tell you, old age may be your greatest gift. For with the passing of time comes wisdom, and with wisdom comes power. But will you embrace old age as a blessing, or curse it as a thief? And then there is death, the fear that stands behind every other fear, the one no man dares to name aloud. Death ends life, but it need not end your courage. For what greater tragedy than to die before you have truly lived? So I press you again. Are you living fully? Or are you already dying slowly, chained by fear? Each of these 6 ghosts gains strength only from your permission. They have no reality except the reality you give them. Understand this truth, and you hold the weapon to banish them forever. But here is the secret I want you to burn into your mind. Fear is always conquered by faith. Have you allowed faith to enter your life with the same intensity that you have allowed fear? Faith is the state of mind that transforms weakness into strength, poverty into wealth, and failure into victory. Fear paralyzes, faith liberates. Fear whispers, "You cannot," while faith declares, "You will." Which voice are you listening to right now? I have seen men with no money, no education, and no friends rise to power and fortune because they dared to believe. And I have seen men with wealth, influence, and brilliance fall into despair because they allowed fear to poison their thoughts. Do you realize the difference is not in circumstance, but in belief? The mind is like fertile soil. Whatever seed you plant, whether of fear or of faith, will grow. If you water the seed of fear, you will harvest defeat. If you nurture the seed of faith, you will reap abundance. So let me ask you again, what crop are you planting in the fields of your imagination? The moment you decide to reject fear, to banish indecision and doubt, you begin to awaken a new power within yourself. That power is decision, and decision is the first victory over fear. Have you made a definite decision about who you wish to become? Indecision is the breeding ground of failure. Decision, on the other hand, is the birthplace of greatness. Every successful man you admire has been a man of quick, firm, and unwavering decision. The world may laugh, the critics may jeer, but decision silences them all in time. So what decision will you make today that fear has long prevented you from making? Remember this: fear feeds on hesitation, but starves on action. Each time you act in spite of fear, you weaken it. Each time you surrender, you strengthen it. Which habit are you practicing today? Courage or surrender? The history of nations proves this law. During war, when the fear of death spread like wildfire, many perished not from bullets, but from the terror that consumed their minds. During depressions, when the fear of poverty spread, millions collapsed not from lack of opportunity, but from the paralysis of thought. Will you repeat their mistakes, or will you rise above them? I tell you now, fortune favors the man who decides. Faith favors the man who acts, and life itself opens its richest treasures to the man who refuses to bow before fear. So let me challenge you once more. Are you willing to declare war upon the 6 ghosts of fear? Beginning tonight, beginning now, because until you make that declaration, your future is not your own. And here lies the most important truth of all. You cannot live fully while being half slave to fear. You must choose freedom or bondage, faith or fear, courage or surrender. What will you choose before this day ends? Now we stand before the final 3 ghosts of fear, the silent forces that hold millions in chains without them ever realizing it. The first among these is the fear of the loss of love. Think deeply for a moment. How much of human misery comes from jealousy, suspicion, and the gnawing worry that the affection you hold most dear might be taken away? This fear is rooted in the instinct to possess, the desire to control, and the terror of being abandoned. It shows itself in sleepless nights, in arguments born from suspicion rather than truth, and in the suffocating anxiety that whispers, "What if they no longer love you?" But ask yourself, does true love vanish because of fear? Or does fear itself corrode love, poisoning it with doubt until it collapses under its own weight? You see, the fear of loss never protects love. It only hastens its destruction. Real love is nurtured by confidence, by trust, and by giving more than demanding. When you operate from fear, you push away the very thing you want to keep. When you operate from faith and trust, love multiplies and endures. Now let us move to the 5th fear, the fear of old age. How cunning this ghost is. It makes people dread the passing years as though every wrinkle steals away their worth. It makes them shrink back, hiding their wisdom, instead of celebrating the richness of their experiences. Society feeds this fear, whispering that youth is the only season of value, and so millions waste their middle and later years mourning the days they can never relive. But pause for a moment. Isn't old age the crown of life? Isn't it the season when a person's understanding ripens, when their perspective sharpens, when their contributions can carry the greatest depth? Fear of old age blinds men and women to the gifts of time. And yet the truth is this: every passing year is not a thief, but a giver. It gives perspective, it gives patience, it gives authority. Those who embrace their years with pride walk with a dignity that youth can never imitate. Ask yourself, what is there truly to fear in aging, except the lies that society tells you about it? And now we come to the final ghost, the deepest and most universal of all, the fear of death. This is the great shadow that stalks every human mind. For some, it arrives in quiet moments of reflection. For others, it strikes like lightning in the middle of the night, sending a shiver down the spine. This fear is rooted in the unknown, the mystery of what lies beyond this life. But here lies the greatest truth. No one escapes death. Yet millions waste the precious gift of life by fearing what they cannot control. Think on this. Is not death simply a transition, a doorway to the unknown? And does not fear of death rob you twice? Once in the moments you spend dreading it, and again when it finally arrives? The wise know that life's value is not measured by its length but by its depth. A day lived with courage, with love, with purpose, outweighs a lifetime spent in fear. When you release the terror of death, you finally learn how to live. Now let us tie all 6 ghosts together: poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. Each of these is a ghost, a phantom, a whisper in the mind. None of them hold real power until you give them power. They are masters only when you bow before them. But when you stand tall, when you claim mastery over your own mind, these ghosts vanish like mist before the rising sun. Can you see it now? The real prison is not built of stone walls or iron bars, it is built in thought. And the real key, the golden key to unlock it, lies in your ability to decide. To decide that you will no longer be ruled by shadows. To decide that you will live with courage, with faith, and with action. Imagine your life if each ghost was stripped away. Imagine if you no longer feared poverty, and instead chased wealth boldly. Imagine if you no longer feared criticism, and spoke your truth with fire. Imagine if you no longer feared illness, and focused on strength. Imagine if you no longer feared losing love and chose instead to give it freely. Imagine if you no longer feared old age, but wore your years like a crown. Imagine if you no longer feared death, but lived every day as if it were your masterpiece. Would that not be freedom? Would that not be life in its fullest measure? This is the challenge Napoleon Hill set before every seeker of success: to recognize the 6 ghosts of fear, to strip them of their disguise, and to drive them out of your mind forever. For when fear is gone, courage reigns. When fear is gone, decision takes its rightful place. When fear is gone, the infinite possibilities of your mind open like a treasure chest. So the choice is now before you. Will you remain haunted by these 6 phantoms, letting them guide your steps and steal your destiny? Or will you rise bold and unshaken, and declare once and for all, fear will not master me, I will master fear. And here is my gift to you. Remember that fear is only a guest in your mind, and you are the host. You may choose at any moment to ask it to leave. Do this today, and you will discover something remarkable. That joy, freedom, and unshakable confidence were waiting within you all along, ready to take fear's place.